What's going on? Thank you for tuning in to the Mortgage Pro podcast. I am your host, Eric Braun, and today we got a really cool guest, Mr. Cash. And yes, that is his real name, Cash Loans on Instagram. You can go check him out. In this episode, we talk about how he's moved across the country a few times, how he's built his business in every single new place that he's been in, how he's leveraged events and classes to do that. We also talk about social media and running paid ads and his file flow, just a lot of priceless information as always. So remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, review, and let another mortgage pro know about the Mortgage Pro podcast. And I hope you enjoy.
Honestly, like I've told you, I've been following you for a long time since I became a lender in 2019, and it's cool to actually be, as close as belly to belly with you as I can.
Yeah, through Zoom. And that's the, why don't we just jump right into it at that. So my guy Cash is here, joining us for a good conversation today. But yeah, that's one of the benefits of doing this podcast is getting to meet people that I've interacted with for years online, or somewhat meet them, right? And that, or at least instead of shooting them a DM back and forth, having like a full long form conversation to get to know people. So one of the byproducts of this new endeavor that we're doing, called the Mortgage Pro podcast. But I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for having us. Why don't you give us a little bit of intro or background on yourself?
Yeah, so I have been a licensed originator since 2019. Started my career in San Diego, and like a lot of people, I was in the hospitality industry before. I didn't have any background in real estate or anything. I was just kind of searching for what I wanted to do with my life. I ended up becoming a loan officer while I was still a bartender, and then COVID made me go full time, and I got into refis and everything like that. And then COVID pushed me out of California, like a lot of other people, and I moved to Texas for a year and a half, and I had to transition and learn my skills. And I went around to a few different companies, seeked out coaches, different things like that. And then from there, I lived there for about a year and a half. And then after I found out my wife was pregnant with our baby, we decided we didn't want to stay there and raise him in Texas. So then we ended up moving to Denver, Colorado. And I've been here for a year now. And it's pretty cool how life's just came full circle.
Yeah. So how is it, like, because you've picked up and moved 3 times since you joined the mortgage business?
Yeah.
And now, are you licensed in all 3 states still? Did you like keep connections from those states? Where are you from originally, you said?
San Diego.
Okay, so originally from San Diego, moved to Texas, now to Colorado. Do you like still do business in Texas and California?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I first moved to Texas, I was really hesitant on how to grow my business and how to communicate with clients. I almost felt like if I told them that I lived in Texas, that they'd be like, oh, I don't want to work with you. And it's funny how I learned that actually doesn't matter. You can work with people all across the country. And yeah, I've kept a lot of my relationships in San Diego, and then as well in Austin, where I lived. I have some people in San Antonio and Dallas too. Awesome. And out here in Colorado, it's been really cool because I felt like my move from California to Texas, I was still so new in the industry, and all I knew was super low rates and everything like that. And then I moved to Austin, and I had to leave companies, and I had to go find a different company. And I just had to really learn the type of loan officer and the type of person that I wanted to be in the industry. And it was a really cool, I consider that, like, I'm obviously always growing, but that was like my big growth period in becoming a lender, yeah.
And are you mostly realtor focused? Are you consumer direct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to get consumer direct. That's the dream. But my main focus is attracting agents and meeting people and doing different things like that. I do a lot of social media and stuff, trying to be consumer direct and stay in touch with my past database, call people, do different ads and stuff like that. But really realtor focus. And another big thing that's been huge for me is whenever I move to new places, and that's advice I have for anyone that moves to a new area, is finding your partners that you can grow with that will introduce you to real estate agents. So like, when I moved to Texas, I met an awesome title agent who introduced me to a bunch of real estate agents, met an insurance person who introduced me. In Colorado, I joined a BNI and I met some cool title agents and stuff like that. And then, as you get into offices too, you find the people that you want to work with, and then they tell you about people in their office, and it just kind of grows from there.
Other than what you just said, if I move across country, which I want to mention something first, actually. You said you can kind of do business from anywhere, and that's one of the cool things about this business. I was just in Vegas, as you can tell from my voice. And while I was there, it's 3 hours behind New York. But while I was there, I was like able to get a good amount of work done in between the riffraff. And I was saying to myself, I'm like, wow, I really could, like, a lot of us right now are probably in the mindset of like, I could never leave where I'm at and still do my business. And being in Vegas for four days or whatever it was, kind of opened my eyes to that. Like, I actually could, even with the 3 hour time difference, I could operate pretty well. But that was just a side note. What I wanted to ask you was, aside from what you just said, which is meeting partners who are going to introduce you to partners, right? Aside from that, what do you think is another, some other advice for somebody who's just touching down in a new market or just moved across the country or to a new state, new town? What do you think is a good way to break into that market?
Yeah, I think it's, again, piggybacking on those partners and knowing your value of what you bring, right? Like, my value is, I have not a background in marketing, but I'm passionate about marketing. I'm passionate about learning social media tips and tricks and SEO strategies and different things like that. And so one of my things was I taught classes about that stuff. Okay. And by teaching those classes, I'm positioned as the knowledge broker to people who don't know me and who are probably way more successful than me at the time, right? But they come to my class and then they see me, and it really makes that introduction that much easier, and that much easier for me to follow up and reach out to them and everything like that. So I think if you were going to a new area, trying to start teaching classes is probably one of the best things that you can do, because rather than just going to an event and shaking hands and saying, hey, my name's Cash and I have the best rates and the best service, yada, yada. It's like you're providing something that they need, and they're going to come to you as the expert on that.
Right. You become an authority. I think events, and whether it's hosting a happy hour or what we do, which is brewery and now winery, you have like a wide net. This is my marketing strategy when it comes to events. I have our wide net, invite everybody's welcome event, and that's brewery.
Yeah.
And now we're doing winery during wine season. That's just supposed to be a big party to get together. There's no presentations. There's no real agendas. It's just networking, drinks, hopefully meet some new people. And then once a month or every other month, I'm hosting smaller workshops for our private mastermind called Not Your Average Agents. Sometimes I'll open up those masterminds to the public and invite the masses. Like our last event, we did a buyer's agent mastery workshop where I had like a panel of 6 speakers, and we all went into different topics of how to be a better buyer's agent. That was a public one, but I think the strategy of like, that's nothing new, but it's one of those tried and true methods to build your business. And I think it's especially important if you're just touching down in a new market to position yourself as an authority. And also, like, it's more of a attraction rather than a promotion sort of tactic. So why don't we dive into the classes a little bit more? Because I'm super interested in number one, what do you teach? Because I think that's where most loan officers' mind go to, is like, yeah, I want to do classes. That sounds like it will work. I think I could do it, but what the hell do I teach? What do I teach? So why don't you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that you'd be surprised on how much people don't know. Like we all have our strong suits and stuff like that. So if you start to like, I don't know, like I've been into social media and short form videos and stuff, and I think that so many people need short form videos, but they're afraid to do that. So I've made a presentation, I got it CE approved, and would teach agents on how to do short form videos and best practices, equipment, everything like that. And then, me and you have both been part of the Legion of Loan Officers before too. And Nick Carpenter has some classes that he teaches and stuff too that I piggybacked on, where it's about how to optimize your YouTube page so you can appear on the front page of Google, or about some back end stuff as far as Facebook ads and stuff like that goes. Or if you're just an average loan officer, I have not an average loan officer, not your average loan officer. I have a class that I teach that's 25 unique mortgage strategies, right? That buyers or buying agents and listing agents can use to help their clients. So really the teaching thing is unlimited. There's so much that you could do. And it's same as like you do for your events, as far as making it a party and stuff like that. A lot of times it doesn't even have to be about real estate. Like I've seen people do successful, like it's probably more client facing, but like self-defense classes. Like you could, as a loan officer, you could partner with like a jujitsu instructor or something and have a self-defense class for real estate agents on how to protect themselves at open houses and stuff like that.
Just gave me a good idea, I think. So all right, so we got the content out of the way. You gave us a few ideas of what we can teach, and I'm sure if anybody sat down and thought about it, you can come up with something completely original on your own, but you gave us a few good ones. After we pick our topic, then what? Because I think that's the other piece of hosting events that a lot of people get afraid about.
Yeah.
Like the promotion, the setup, the planning. Talk about a little bit about how you prepare for your classes.
Yeah, preparing for the classes. So first you find your partners. Again, it all comes back to your partners and everything like that. But if you find your partners, you find your event space. A lot of time for realtors, you do it at title offices, and a title agent is happy to help you and invite everyone in their sphere. Then you could have like a home inspector, an insurance person, or literally anyone. I had a class and I had someone from the tax assessor's office come. But when you do those type of things, you get them to attract their spheres as well. Or like, to piggyback off of what you do with Not Your Average Agents, is I found that having a realtor panel of top producers is one of the best things that you can do, because they're stoked and they usually have big platforms and they're going to promote it all over their platforms, get their teams to come and everything like that. And then obviously people want to learn from them. But after you find your team and your event and everything like that, I mean, then it's really just targeting down your niche audience that you want to bring, so if it's agents and stuff like that, connecting with those right people. You can do like targeted Facebook ads. You can do mailers, like, cold calls. Everyone's afraid to cold call, but cold calling and inviting someone to an event is probably one of the most powerful cold calls that you can have, honestly. Especially if you make them, I was thinking of you, I want you at this event.
Right.
If you were going to have an event more client facing and stuff like that, again, it's who you position yourself with. So if you were going to have one like for veterans or something, maybe get involved with the local VA chapter, right? Or get involved with gyms or somewhere, that people go, or maybe a local owned brewery that is veteran owned, right? That a lot of vets go to. And just like kind of doing stuff like that, I think as far as promoting your classes is really valuable.
Awesome. And now what happens after the event, or before we skip, what happens during the event?
During the event. So during the event, you got to make it a party. I think that's where a lot of people fail on their classes, is they're boring. You don't want to be the dry eyes guy, what guy I'm talking about. You don't want to be that guy. When people come in, have music playing, make it fun, raffle off some gifts if you can. Like sometimes you'll do like little cheap lottery ticket scratchers, right? But people are stoked. People are excited to get that stuff. So do that kind of stuff, make the event fun, and just just make it fun and make it valuable. I think also during your events, if you can like have some interactive things, like if you have a 2-hour CE class, make everyone get up and shake out and have a dance party or something like that, something just to keep people engaged and into the event and everything like that. And then afterwards, this is something I actually learned from Nick, that I think is cool, is in dating, for example, if you want to be memorable, if you take your date to 2 places, you have a lot better chance than if you take them to 1. And it's the same thing with events. So if you can have an event or a class or something at a certain place and then have a follow-up happy hour, right? Then they're going to associate you with 2 different places. And you also get to let loose a little bit differently. If you went to a happy hour, for example, after a class, at the class, you're a little bit more professional. At the happy hour, you can let loose and have that. But I think that different association is really important as well.
How often are you having your classes?
I've slowed down a little bit, but usually about 3 a week or 3 a month. 3 a week would be a lot. I wouldn't be able to do anything else, but 3 a month.
3 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have certain topics on repeat?
Yeah. Usually it's just if I get sick of the class, or what I find people want. Another thing that I've done with my classes is trying to get into offices. If you can get into a real estate agent's office to talk to their head marketing person, then I usually have my list of classes and I'll send it into them and be like, hey, what do you guys want to learn? Right. But you end up having your favorite classes and the ones that you think are the most fun, right, and different things like that. Yeah. And then after the class, then that's when you follow up, right? So you get the list of everyone that comes in. I usually make an Eventbrite and a Facebook page, try to get everyone to sign up on the Eventbrite so that you have their list. Also get a sign-in sheet at your class. And I think something too that a lot of lenders do, and I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm sure you're the same way. Like, I don't care if lenders come to my classes too. Some lenders are very like, I've crashed a few and they're like, oh, get out of here, or like, oh, what are you doing here? Give me the cold shoulder,
Yeah.
But I think the more people, the better, because it's going to fill the room. It's going to make it more fun and more engaging. So after the class, I usually put people into, add them to my calling list and make calls, ask them how it went, everything like that, and then try to use that as leverage on my cold calls, especially if they're new people and they're doing business and stuff. Like, try to use that to be like, hey, not only can I do this stuff, but I also have all these great other things. I'd love to be an asset to you. I'd love to get down, have some coffee, some lunch, and just break bread with those people.
And what is your value proposition? If you want to give a little, like, because I think a lot of loan officers they struggle with what to say to realtors or potential referral partners. And I think one of the first things that a new loan officer should do, or even somebody that's been in the business a long time, if they're trying to go for like another run and like kind of reinvent their business or reinvigorate their business, I think one of the first things that you should do is like clearly identify your value proposition. And it doesn't have to be some detailed, long-winded like thing. But like know what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right. And it could be very vague that you want to give me right now, or like an example of what you would say to a realtor on that call, or you can go into detail on like a few things that you are doing for your referral partners right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on who I'm calling. If I already know them, then I can break it a little bit easier. But my value proposition is I help agents get more leads and close more deals while freeing up more time in their lives. And usually if I can say that in some way, then they're going to be like, oh yeah, I could definitely use that more time.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. And the way that I do that is through helping them with their social media, optimizing, their Instagram, their Facebook, different YouTube strategies, all these different things that they know they should be doing. And then kind of just go through my process too as a loan officer, and what our team does and everything like that. But mainly for me, it's more like, I want to be a loan officer that they need for marketing and to come to for these like social media and these marketing things that they need. It's kind of like my strategy.
And
And
speak to your process a little bit more. So you mentioned, because what I think happens a lot is we want to attract business and think about all these different value adds and these shiny objects and these different marketing strategies.
yeah,
Then we forget to focus on getting the loans done, right? So I like how you threw that in as well, because I know for me, like top producing realtors and teams and stuff like that, yeah, they care about the bells and whistles and your value proposition and
they want
what
the
you could do for it, but they want the job done and the job done right. So explain to me how you guys are working a file right now and maybe your process, or how you would explain it to a realtor.
Yeah. So first thing I would do is tell the realtor how I'm going to vet them to the client every single time I talk to the client. I'm going to say, you're so lucky to be working with Eric. He's one of the best agents that I know. His communication is spot on. He really just, goes above and beyond for every client that I help. So I let them know that. And I also kind of tell them, I know that you have 3 lenders, but when you introduce me to new clients, I would love to be your lender. So, and then I just kind of get into, that's how I would tee them up. And, they should tee me up that same way to solidify that teamwork. And then as far as the process goes, just having clear communication on everything. So like when I take an initial application, I'm taking notes and everything. I'm sending that into the real estate agent so they know everything that's going on. Once the client's pre-approved, we're kind of updating that whole thing, communicating with them through there. And then once we go under contract, the buyer's agents already know, but I also am calling the listing agents, developing that relationship. And more than anything, I mean, it's just communication. It really is, so I think a lot of different coaching things do this, but I do like Tuesday update calls where I call everyone in the transaction on Tuesdays without fail, also send emails, everything like that, every step of the way. I'll call all of my pre-approved people on Wednesdays and see where they're at, everything like that. Call my past database. So that's one way that I give back to agents is our past clients. I'm going to be calling them, not all of them, but a certain number every single Thursday so that I can, get that repeat business and refer it back. And I'm just always trying to go out there and just really just keep things going and just make sure that I have clear communication with everyone. I think that's the biggest thing as loan officers. Another thing that I do that I think every loan officer should do is when you go under contract, like loop in the listing agent and the buyer's agent and on a 3-way text, because a lot of people like to communicate that way. And if something goes south, it's easy to communicate through that texting thread,
Right.
Rather than emails and stuff where it can be like, oh, I sent you this. Oh, I didn't see that,
Right. That's actually something that I've been doing lately is I advise all my referral partners, make sure you introduce all of your clients via group text. Don't give them my phone number. Don't give me their phone number. Don't have them call me, because as soon as I miss their call or they miss my call, and now it's 3 missed calls, we're playing phone tag for 3 days, and it's just not a good way to get started. So I advise and prefer, and I think what typically works best is a group text with the client. And then I'm going to jump in and schedule that call. After that call, I loop in my loan coordinator, who begins follow-up, helps me put together documents, stuff like that. When that deal goes into, and I actually rename it, especially if they're iPhone only, I rename the text last name purchase with a little house emoji.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I've done this before, like this. I have a lot of text threads going on. I think it's a little bit of and they like it. They, a lot of times, like, people think it's cute and they like to see, like, the Jones purchase in their text. Like, it makes it real for them, right? So I renamed the group text after I add in my loan coordinator, and then when that deal goes into contract and we're in underwriting or we're submitted to underwriting, I actually add my processor. So everybody's buyer's agent, client, my loan coordinator, me, and my processor. Sometimes I'll remove my loan coordinator after a certain point just so she doesn't get bogged down. But that the group texting is something that I preach all the time. So I can appreciate you saying that. I never thought about having a side one with buyer's agent and listing agent, and that's interesting. I think it just depends. I guess it's just a matter of
agents too, like some listing
Yeah.
agents, they think they're too busy for it.
Yeah.
So sometimes they will never respond in there, but I still add them,
Right.
But
And
when it's
now-
an Android, it can get a little bit annoying for sure.
Speak to the Tuesday updates a little bit. What do you say? What are you doing? How do you just give me a quick rundown of how
Yeah,
you're
so in the
Tuesday
beginning
updates.
of my first call with the listing agent, as soon as the contract's under, I let them know that I'm going to be calling every single Tuesday, letting them know what's going on with the contract. Yes, we've had the appraisal done, the loan's been locked, insurance has been, binded, everything's good like that, or if there's issues, whatever, just give them a quick little update. And then I call the buyer's agent too. I've usually already communicated with them, but I'll talk to the buyer's agent, everything like that. I'll talk to the title partner if I can. A lot of times they'll be busy, but still no one else reaches out to title. So if you can reach out to your title partners, you can become their favorite lender pretty quick, which is pretty cool because then they'll actually be prone to referring you to other people. Then also reaching out to the buyers, to the borrowers, right? And then on top of the calls, I also do an email. So I have a little graphic that goes out and it has all of our contingencies on there and everything like that. And then we'll put in the dates as they come in and they all get completed and stuff. So it's a nice little graphic that goes out. And it's kind of cool because in the beginning, it's a picture of their house, picture of me, company logo, all that. And in the beginning, it's empty. But by the end, all the different things are all marked off and it's like a checklist. I almost feel like it's visually gratifying as you go through the process to see that stuff is getting done.
Right. It's moving forward. Things are progressing. But how do you set up that graphic?
Just on Canva, our ops manager, she has a Canva thing that she's made now, and go grab a picture from the front of the house and put it on the graphic. And then it's a picture of the loan officer with, the team name, all the information and stuff like that. And then just all the different contingency deadlines, like our loan availability, insurance deadline, all of those different things, appraisal, when it's ordered, when it's received.
So is that time stamp or date being manually filled in?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
On every contract, it's different.
Gotcha.
But she uses the same.
Okay, so got it, understood. So it's made at the dates are, I thought it was like when the milestones were being completed, but you're saying the dates of the contract are on that graphic and then they're being checked off.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So it will have the dates that they're all due by, and then when we've completed them.
Understood.
So then people are seeing that we're moving fast.
Right.
And especially on sometimes, especially if a file is like really clean or something like that, we're not having a bunch of chit chat back and forth. Like it can seem like what's going on here,
Right.
So it just kind of lets them see visually that, all this stuff is actually being completed on the back end.
Right. Because sometimes a buyer doesn't hear from you and they get nervous, but it's like, no, your file is just that easy. Like,
or you get clear to close in like 10 days and you have a 30-day contract.
Right.
I
like that. I know one of the things that we have, we invested heavily into some tech this year, and one of those investments was building out our own CRM on Salesforce. And one of the things that I made was the different milestones of the loan. So submitted to opening, processing, appraisal ordered, appraisal back, submitted to underwriting, conditional approval, resubmit, clear to close, like all the different milestones. And every time a loan hits that, it records the date. And my hope was to not only track those things and do detailed reporting on certain metrics, but also the ability to just screenshot it as a loan officer from your phone and kind of brag about it on social media, especially if it's a quick one, right?
Yeah.
But I do like the graphic idea. Did you come up with that, or?
No, I wish I
You could have, took credit. You could
I
have
can't take credit for that. My team might watch this, and then be like, what the hell, Cash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your structure. You mentioned team, so you're a part of a team.
Yeah. So I work with the Intercap lending. So we're a direct lender. So I have an LOA that helps me out. And then I have a processor. We have an operations manager, and then just all the normal stuff. But really, mainly me, my loan officer assistant, my LOA, and then my processor. That's my solid team right now.
And is your LOA shared with another loan officer?
Yeah, my LOA is shared right now.
Okay.
So it's good. As business grows, really my goal eventually is to have a loan partner that can do pretty much all the loan stuff. And I just want to be in sales. But right now it's cool because, as I teach classes, as I do these different things, I can be like, hey, I got this new file in. Can you go in there, structure it, do different things for me? Really, her job right now is for me to take the app, get all the docs, calculate everything, get everything all dialed in. And then as we go under contract, she's going to take it from contract to close.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
you're structuring, completing the application, calculating income, all that stuff right now.
Yeah. And she'll help me as needed. But
Gotcha.
like I said, she is shared. So I have so much bandwidth there.
Gotcha. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it's quicker for like, I know sometimes I'll get a package, and I know the way that I work is with my LOA. So I have the initial call, I'll take notes, I'm asking them income, credit, assets. I'm basically setting up the file verbally and mentally in my head to begin with.
Yeah.
And if I take good notes, it should be pretty simple. But then I'm sending out our app. So they're completing everything. They're completing, I would say 80% of the 1003
Yeah.
digitally. And then they're also uploading or email me documents. At that point, I like my loan officer assistant or my, production partner or loan coordinator, whatever you want to call them, to jump in and kind of just finish the extra 20% of that 1003 and kind of tee it up, maybe request some more docs if it's not enough, and then set up our loan consultation where I'm going to jump on a second call with the client to just review everything and kind of close the loop.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get a package and I know my loan coordinator is busy and this package, it's all over the place. I'd rather spend an extra 15, 20 minutes of my time than for her to sit with it for 2 hours to figure it out. And then also just push it back onto me anyway. So sometimes I'll kind of take the reins and set everything up. Or if it's super easy, then I'm like, Nora, this is done. That's her name. This is done. I'm just going to jump into this and finish it. Then there's no point of the extra step. So I think it's all about, you have to be, I'm a systems guy, right? So I'm, all my standard operating procedures are written out. I want to be as organized as possible. I want the assembly line to be flowing, right? And I want everybody to be aware of how we work. The tricky part about that and being a systems guy is you can overly obsess about it and become too rigid and lose that like dynamic ability to be like, all right, this one will work this way, or we'll do this a little bit different, or I know this is the next step on the standard operating procedures. However, I'm just going to knock it out right now. So I think it's a balance of being organized and having a file flow and having a process, but also realizing like we're in a reactive business.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay to deviate from the system a little bit. So.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as a loan officer, I feel like you have to be able to freestyle, you have to be able to just go with the flow and play the ball as it comes in. At what point did you actually get your own personal LOA?
I was doing 6 loans a month.
Okay.
6 loans a month, personally. And then shortly after that, I started building a team of loan officers. So that takes up some of my time as well. So, Yeah, I think at 6 loans a month, I was like, all right, let me make the investment.
Yeah.
And mind you, like those 6 loans are tough. Like they're not like vanilla deals.
Yeah.
Um, and when I say 6, maybe some months I was doing 4.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the area or range of production where it starts to make sense to. But listen, at the time, there wasn't any like shared LOAs to tap into. I think that would have actually been a better move instead of hiring somebody directly for me, is to tap into a shared LOA. I think that works actually better financially. Plus, if that person came with experience and was already working with somebody and there was already a system in place, plugging into that would probably be better than messing up like I did a bunch of times creating a new one.
Yeah.
Right. So but it was all a learning experience. But I think in order to get above that 6 unit threshold, and don't get me wrong, you could do 8 loans 1 month.
Yeah. But consistently.
Consistently, I think you need an assistant.
Yeah. I noticed just having my assistant now, I didn't have one for a long time. And it's like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because exactly then you're able to focus more on the things that bring in the business. That's what loan officers' job really is to bring in the business.
Right.
There's teams that, and my loan officer assistant, she's like way smarter than I am too.
Right.
She's been an underwriter before. She was a loan officer. Like she knows what's up. So I don't know. It's pretty cool though when you realize like how much more potential that you have if
Mhm.
you can put some pieces around you.
Right.
You did all
Yeah.
that.
I joke around. I say I have like 4 jobs. I have, being a loan officer, being a marketer, being a, division manager where I'm like, I have to be like the CEO of the organization.
Oh yeah.
And then also just being a like, I still gotta do laundry and freaking, like do everything else that I have to do in life. So yeah, I think you can only do so much by yourself. I think if you're doing 4, 5, 6 units a month, you should and you want to go more and you want to go to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you need an assistant.
Yeah.
The hardest part though, because here's another common pitfall. You think, oh, I just need an assistant. No, you need an assistant. You need to find the right person, which is its own skill set, right? Interviewing and filtering and understanding who's good at what and how to find that, attract that talent. You need to train them, right? So it's not just, the body doesn't just fix the problem. A
Yeah.
lot of people will just try and throw bodies at problems. That does not work. It's getting the right person, which again is a skill set of itself, training them, and then also, day one, having a clear set of responsibilities and process lined up. Because I've made the mistake where it's like I've hired a decent person, let's say they're a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, but because I didn't train them, didn't have the process ironed out, I wasn't getting as much as I should have out of them.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean when you talk about having a shared assistant. To me, that sounds amazing because you didn't have to. Well, maybe you did, but you probably didn't have to, do what I was doing when I
Yeah.
first got my assistant. And it took me a few different tries, right? That didn't come naturally to me. Managing doesn't really come naturally to me. I'm a visionary. I'm a big thinker. I'm a systems guy, but like managing people, I always say like my partner's way better at that. He has way more patience for that. So that was something that I needed to work on. That was something that I've read books on. I've listened to, content on. Like I realized that was something that I needed to work on. And through those experience, thank God I've gotten a lot better at it. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's impressive on everything that you've done. you're younger than me, and you're like, I feel like you're light years ahead of me. So like I was saying before our call, I don't even know if you're recording, but I've been following you since I became a loan officer, and just really impressive who you are, and what you've done and the brand that you've grown, because branding is so big. And I just think that like Not Your Average Lender is like a huge, awesome brand in the industry.
Thank you. Speaking of brand, tell me a little bit about your social media journey.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to talk to you about this. I started my social media, and I was trying to figure out, okay, first things first, what's a cool handle? And I came up with Cash Loans. My name's Cash. It works out too perfect, right? So I started to do that. And little backstory, my sister, she owns a digital marketing agency in Austin, Texas. So she's been trying to get me to get on video. She's like, yo, you got to get on video. You got to do this stuff. Right. And I've just been I was always a performer. I like to play music. I like to do stuff like that. So I feel like video is almost like an expression of creativity, like that. So that's kind of been my big thing with social media, is just doing it so much until I'm getting comfortable. And then I get really comfortable. And then, I need to change it up here or there, but seeking different people also that I admire in it has been really strong for my business. Like I recently have been trying to learn more about copyright and stuff like that, which is something I never thought about before, but it makes so much sense. Every form of sales needs copyright. And, listening to people like Renee Rodriguez and stuff like that, where you can learn to sell through stories and being able to talk in certain ways, really drive home your point, has been really big for me as far as social media goes. And I mean, I'm still growing. I've had a few deals come in through Instagram. I'm not like a figure in the field yet, but I say yet because it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna quit. I feel like social media is a hockey stick projection where you're gonna put in hours and hours and maybe even years of work, and then eventually you start to get deals. And always trying to hone the skills and just do it a little bit better. My next big venture that I really need to start doing and be consistent on is YouTube. So I think there's a huge opportunity there.
I'm scrolling through your stuff right now. It's really good. Shout out your Instagram again for everybody listening.
It's Cash Loans.
CACHE loans. Hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast, you know how to spell loans.
There it is. You better.
So I'm actually, speaking of Renee, I'm having Renee on our podcast in a few weeks. So shortly after this episode, it should be coming out, our episode. So I'm excited for that. But how often are you shooting content?
I shoot content once a week.
Okay.
Usually once a week, I'll batch it, batch 5 to 7 videos, and then edit them all. I don't have an editor yet, so I edit all my own stuff on CapCut. But I'll shoot my videos and then edit them. I put them on Instagram, and then I go and I put them on TikTok with the same caption. I don't spend much time on TikTok, but I do post consistently on TikTok. And then I go and I post the same video to Facebook Business, YouTube Shorts, and then I've been putting my YouTube Shorts onto my Google My Business too.
I know the struggle. I know the struggle of what you just described. I think there's so right now, actually, I'm doing a great job at creating content, not a great job at distributing. Because for me to post that video 6 different places, it's like way too daunting of a task. I melt down. I know it sounds silly. I can handle all sorts of other pressure in my life, but I can't simply open 6 apps. But just waiting for it to load and it drives me nuts. So I'm figuring that out. But I mean, like you said, like I created content for like 3 to 5 years before I really caught traction.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I found you. When I became a loan officer, I saw your content somewhere in the webs when I started following social media, real estate, and loan officer stuff.
Yeah,
this is an example of the power of it.
Correct. And dude, that's how I found everybody on this show so far.
Yeah.
And not only that, I've been asked to speak across the country because of social media, and I'm nobody special. It's just I created content, and what we don't realize when we're creating a video and people are consuming it over a long period of time, we're creating videos and people are consuming it over a long period of time, you're building a relationship with that person without
Yeah.
ever meeting them. They're starting to understand you, know how you talk, what your interests are, especially if you're doing it right and you're sharing a little bit about your personal life. So like sometimes I meet somebody in person that I've seen on social media for 3-4 years, and it doesn't even feel like I'm meeting them.
Yeah. You
It's
already
like
know.
I've known them for a while.
Yeah.
It's like, ah, nice to meet you, but it really doesn't feel that way. So that's what's really happening psychologically when you're creating content, is you're building all these small little connections with the masses at scale, which at the end of the day is what we're supposed to do as salespeople. So
Yeah, and
uh,
the crazy thing about social media too, and especially short form video, is how much it pushes it out to new people. So like
right,
when I look at my analytics, I have like, I don't know, 15,000 views or something this month, and 14,000 of that 15,000 is non-followers,
Mm.
people that don't know my stuff.
Yeah, that's huge with the reels, and I think
Yeah, and I found that too, by posting it on every platform, I'm reaching, I have one video that doesn't do well, but if I post it everywhere, I usually have one on one platform that does decent that day.
right.
So if you can do it everywhere, you can reach, 10,000 people a day is a very small thing,
Right,
when you're doing that.
right.
And
And
sometimes you have videos that blow up and, get 100,000
it's
views or 50.
it's it's super interesting. And I do, you mentioned TikTok. I think there's value to it, obviously. Everybody was talking about how you needed to be on TikTok. People still are. I always suggest that people, if you're newer, or even if you've been in the game for a while, like myself, when it comes to the social media stuff, that is, stick to and put your energy into the platforms that you actually use,
Yeah.
because you're going to see a lot more reward out of the stuff that out of the platforms that you're actually using. Like I do post to TikTok, but I haven't opened it and scrolled through it ever since Instagram created Reels.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm the same way, but I do in TikTok still though, you do get people who will comment on your stuff, and every once in a while you can have a legit engaging conversation. You
mhm,
never know where that could go. You
mhm,
really don't. One of my success stories from Instagram was I posted some stupid video. It was like the Home Alone scream, and it was about appraisers being late or something like that, when the appraisal comes in low.
mhm.
And I had a guy reach out to me for a refinance that was in Texas when I lived there. And I had never met this guy before, like in my life. And he called me this like right after I posted that video. And one of my initial questions is, well, how did you hear about me? He's like, oh, I've been following you on social media and I just saw your video about the appraisal and I thought it was funny. So I called you.
It's
And I
crazy.
was, okay.
What I like about TikTok? It connects your contacts.
Mhm.
So I have a contact list of 3,000 people or whatever it is of all clients,
Yeah.
because I have a separate phone for work, and I get past clients following me.
Yeah.
They get my stuff based on the phone numbers. So one of the things that I always talk about when it comes to social media, one of the benefits that nobody talks about is a lot of times it's not about meeting new people. It's also about staying top of mind of people that you already know and already met.
Yeah. It's like the world's best CRM.
Correct.
Facebook literally is like the best CRM that you could use, and it's free.
Right. And I was on the mortgage marketing radio a few years back. I actually had Jeff on my podcast now. It was cool to see things come full circle. And one of the things that I said during that podcast, and it just kind of came to me, I never said it before, and we took that clip and it did well, was Instagram's a new email list.
Yeah.
Like when somebody clicks follow, when somebody clicks add you as a friend, when somebody whatever it may be, when somebody enters your ecosystem, they are now on your email list, right?
Yeah.
When they click follow, every time you put out content, they're hopefully seeing it. And it's in a lot more of an organic, better way than just getting a email filled with text out of all of the thousands of emails that you receive that day, right? It has just way better impact. So social media, I could talk about it for hours. It's done wonders for my business. It's allowed me to grow as a person, stay top of mind with past clients. It's allowed me to build new relationships.
Yeah.
It allowed me to travel the country. It's allowed me to attract better talent, recruit. And it's all free.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
And like, have you dived into like doing retargeting ads and stuff like that too?
No, but I need to.
Yeah, retargeting ads are one of the most powerful things, because you can have a list, like let's say I have a target 100 list of realtors, and then I have all these other people that I'm focusing on. I can plug them into a custom list and make sure that they're seeing my content on Facebook and Instagram. And it's such
You're doing that with
Facebook ads.
with videos that are specific to that, or just all of your content?
It depends. So like to realtor partners, I might have a video. If I'm only doing them, right, then I will maybe do something that's more specific to why you should partner with an intercap loan officer, or here's what I do differently, or maybe I want to get people to sign up for HomeBot or something, right?
Gotcha.
But what I do is I have 4 different ads running per day. This is just my strategy. I'll lay it out here. Is I have 4 ads running per day for $1 a day for each ad. And then I retarget custom lists. So I have my entire CRM. I have warmed realtors that I'm targeting. I have, if I'm doing a farm or something like that, I have events that I've had in the past. So all these classes I'm having, I'm retargeting these people. And then I'm also retargeting people who watch my videos. So, Instagram and Facebook, when you do reels, it's constantly showing your information to new people, but a very small percentage keeps seeing your stuff, especially if they're your friends. It's like, once they're your friends, unless you get in their DMs, that's a whole nother thing. If you get in the DMs, it can build that affinity. But until you get in the DMs, it's really going to show your content to a very few people. The way to ensure that those people see your content is through paid advertising. And it's a lot different than boosting your post. If you're just boost a post, you're going to get a bunch of bots, probably get a bunch of strippers on there that are going to follow you.
That might be what you want.
If that's what you want, then there's a way for it. There really is a way for it. Just don't be mad if you find out it's a fat guy in his basement. But yeah, I mean, if you can do that, then I've used that strategy for probably about 8 months now since I learned about it. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And this year I probably had it's hard because you can't track your deals directly to that. But again, when you're having those conversations, and usually it's with past clients is where this works. And you're like, hey, what's up? How'd you think of me? Right? It's them being like, oh, I see your videos all the time. You do so many videos. They're so great.
It's $4, $5 a day. Like that's pretty much free in this business. So if you guys are listening and you've, ever thought about running paid advertising, or you thought about retargeting, Cash just laid out some of his strategy.
Yeah.
And maybe this is your sign to start doing it, because it's definitely my sign. Now that we have certain tech rolled out, and I have a little bit more bandwidth to take on some projects. This may be my next one, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. And the cool thing is it, it's set it and forget it type stuff. It's like you build it out, you set it there. My ads are just reels. I don't want people to think it's an ad. I'll put a button on there, click this button to schedule an appointment, or maybe I want it to go to some landing page on my website. But I want my ads to just look like videos, so I stay top of mind. I don't care about having them be like be in an ad.
That's awesome. It's powerful. All right. Cash, this was a super free flowing, easy. I feel like we could keep doing this for hours. So I appreciate your time. I think everybody got a lot out of it today. So I want to thank you for being a guest.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you for inviting me to be on here. It's truly an honor, and I look forward to staying connected with you and seeing where our business goes in a few years.
We'll bring you back soon.
Yeah, hopefully we can go belly to belly actually someday.
Yeah, whenever you're in New York City, brother.
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely hit you up.
I'll talk to you soon, Cash. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Have a good one.